Hello and welcome to World Connect, your window to the world. In the next half an hour, we bring you news from politics, culture, science and showbiz from across the globe. We bring you closer to events that shape our lives and experiences that narrate the story of our times. Let's begin with the focus of the show. Hillary Clinton accepts Democratic presidential nomination as she becomes the first woman to achieve this opportunity. Putting forward her plans to take America ahead, Clinton blasts Republican Donald Trump's dark and divisive vision, questions his capability of holding Oval Office. Lone wolf attacks by Islamic State concerns European governments as France and Germany reel under a string of terror attacks. Strikes threaten to isolate the already vulnerable migrants in Europe. Massive protests erupt in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir as Nawaz Sharif's PMLN is accused of poll rigging to favour the results. Nigerian musical Waka enthralls audiences in London, tells the story about love, power, money and thwarted dreams. Spectators catch a glimpse of Nigerian life. And an inspiring story of how, haunted by childhood memories of war, two brothers have pledged to fight against landmines, devise a low-cost drone to detect and destroy mines in Afghanistan. It's official now. It's going to be Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton in US presidential election scheduled for November 4 this year. While President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama led the Democratic support for Clinton, Bernie Sanders too came around with praise for erstwhile opponent, albeit protests from his supporters. Hillary Clinton has been advocating herself as the best bet for Oval Office. An experienced leader steeled for a volatile world, she aggressively challenges Republican Donald Trump's ability to do the same.
Where love trumps hate. That's the country we're fighting for. That's the future we're working toward. And so, my friends, it is with humility, determination, and boundless confidence in America's promise that I accept your nomination for President of the United States.
There were no stunts, no tricks, no lighting maneuvers, and no special effects, but a known face sporting that similar confident smile in her signature style. Hillary Clinton becoming the first American woman to reach that spot, nominated for the top office by a major American political party. One more step closer to being called Madam President. As the fight between Democrat Clinton and a Republican opponent Donald Trump became official, with both parties nominating the two, the former First Lady lambasted the divisive rhetoric of the billionaire businessman, questioning his credentials to be seated at the Oval Office.
Do you really think Donald Trump has the temperament to be commander-in-chief? Donald Trump can't even handle the rough and tumble of a presidential campaign. He loses his cool at the slightest provocation. Imagine him in the Oval Office facing a real crisis. A man you can bait with a tweet is not a man we can trust with nuclear weapons.
Clinton perfectly maintained the momentum that gripped the convention center in Philadelphia on Wednesday, when President Obama praised his former Secretary of State.
I can say with confidence, there has never been a man or a woman, not me, not Bill, nobody, more qualified than Hillary Clinton to serve as President of the United States of America.
The Democratic Party convention also had its share of dissent, like Republican Party, as Bernie Sanders supporters were not too pleased with his call to support Clinton. But that one speech which stole the show after all those boos, protests and bitterness was of First Lady Michelle Obama. She lauded Clinton as the one she trusts to shape the lives of America's children.
Don't let anyone ever tell you that this country isn't great, that somehow we need to make it great again, because this right now is the greatest country on earth. And as my daughters prepare to set out into the world, I want a leader who is worthy of that truth. A leader who is worthy of my girls' promise and all our kids' promise. A leader who will be guided every day by the love and hope and impossibly big dreams that we all have for our children.
The Democratic convention opened with a controversy over leaked emails that showed a bias among party officials towards Hillary Clinton. The National Committee issued an apology to Bernie Sanders and his supporters for the faux pas. The controversy forced Wasserman Schultz to announce her resignation, though her term was due to end in January. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are set for an election battle, widely considered to be a tight race when voters head to the polls on the 4th of November.
Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump unleashed a barrage of tweets criticizing rival Hillary Clinton as she accepted Democratic nomination. Trump said Democratic presidential nominee was unfit to lead the U.S. and accused her of having bad judgment. A tweet from Trump's Twitter account said, "No one has worse judgment than Hillary Clinton. Corruption and devastation follows her wherever she goes." In a statement after the speech, the Trump campaign said Clinton had described a fantasy universe, not reality. Peru's new president, Pedro Pablo Kuczynski, swore in his top ministers on Friday to pursue his conservative free market agenda. Kuczynski tapped Fernando Zavala for the post of prime minister. Mariano Gonzalez is Peru's new defense minister. The incoming cabinet will have 5 women and several trained economists. Kuczynski took office as Peru's president on Thursday, asking the opposition-controlled Congress to help him fight income inequality and ensure Peruvians have access to running water, healthcare, and free primary education. Lava cascaded off cliffs on Hawaii's Big Island this week, marking the first time since 2013 that one of Kilaueu's lava flows reached the ocean. Lava from the volcano located in Hawaii, Volcano National Park, began erupting in late May and has been continuously moving on a 6-mile journey towards the coast. Axe, knife, machete and truck become the weapons of choice for ISIS-inspired terrorists as Europe grapples with the surge in lone wolf attacks, particularly in France and Germany. As a result of their unpredictable actions, these lone wolves have a natural resistance to surveillance. While the terrorist group radicalizes the youth online, it is upon the political leadership to bind the society together and shield the vulnerable migrants in Europe from gaze of fear and suspicion.
In the span of a few days, a number of ISIS-linked terror attacks tore through the German and French cities of Europe. With the choice of weapons such as gun, axe, knife, machete and truck, the attacks highlight a deadly pattern of lone wolf or wolf pack attacks. They are unpredictable and come as a surprise to both the victims and the security agencies. The attackers were mostly young radicalized youth. The Afghan boy who carried out the Wurzburg axe attack was 17.
Like several European Union countries, like the whole European Union, Germany is also in the target area of international terrorism. Therefore, I have said for a long time, the situation is serious. In Germany too, we must expect attacks from small groups and radicalized individuals.
ISIS exploits the power of social networking, from luring potential recruits to Syria, to spread of extremist propaganda, to inciting individuals to launch an attack with an available weapon and then establish allegiance and uphold the dastardly acts of violence. The terror network has an unprecedented online presence today. The unknown and unpredictable distribution of potential lone wolves promotes the illusion of a wide international network of ISIS. On the other hand, the radicalized individuals feel they can become a part of a bigger jihadist mission without having to formally be a part of the terrorist group. The reign of terror that ISIS propagates has a direct bearing on the fate of millions of refugees in Europe, fleeing war in countries like Syria, Iraq and Afghanistan. As the vulnerable refugees are increasingly looked at by many with suspicion, It is upon European leaders to uphold the higher values among the masses.
The terrorists want to make us lose sight of what is important to us, break down our cohesion and sense of community, as well as inhibiting our way of life, our openness, and our willingness to take in people who are in need. They sow hatred and fear between cultures, and they sow hatred and fear between religions. We stand decisively against that.
While the security agencies grapple with where the next terror strike will occur, the bigger challenge is the ideological one, to prevent the division of European society on the lines of fear and hate.
It's time for a short break. Lots more coming up in the show up ahead. Stay tuned. Japanese police are investigating the country's worst mass killing in decades at the facility for disabled this week. A knife-wielding man killed 19 people and injured several others. The attack took place at a residential healthcare center in Sagamihara City in Kanagawa Prefecture in Japan early Tuesday morning. The police revealed that the criminal, 26 years old Satoshi Umatsu, previously worked at the healthcare facility but got dismissed later and therefore was fueled by hatred to go on the cruel rampage. Shocked Japanese were wondering why the suspected killer was discharged after just 2 weeks from a hospital to which he'd been forcibly committed under mental health laws. They also question why wasn't he kept under surveillance after he wrote threat letters in February to kill hundreds of handicapped people. Police have raided the suspect's home looking for further clues as to the motives of the attack. The elections in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir have been rigged. Now that is the claim of thousands of angry protesters in POK. Widespread demonstrations broke out in the region after Nawaz Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League, that's PMLN, was declared winner. The party has been accused of not allowing genuine voters to cast their vote.
Pakistan-occupied Kashmir boiled with protests and demonstrations as people hit the streets against widespread election irregularities. Protesters blocked roads, shouted slogans in Muzaffarabad and other areas, and demanded action against the rigging in elections that led to the victory of Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, led by Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. As per the results, the party won in 32 out of the 41 seats for the elections to the Legislative Assembly held on the 21st of July. Protesters accused PMLN of unfair practices to win the polls and even eliminating opponents.
After rigging elections, they are now indulging in widespread propaganda and killing. They have killed our friend. If the authorities fail to take any action, they will be responsible for the consequences.
Violence was reported from across the region as supporters of political parties clashed with each other. It was claimed that genuine voters were not allowed to cast their votes during the elections, and the Pakistani intelligence services rigged the polls in favor of Nawaz Sharif's party.
The Election Commission should suspend everyone. They have stopped to such low levels. We urge people not to indulge in any violence, but as they have resorted to violence, we will reply back for sure.
Election to the Legislative Assembly was not peaceful at all. Clashes were reported from various parts on the polling day. Brawls between party workers and with polling staff left several injured. Allegations of rigging in elections are not new in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The Pakistan government and politicians are accused of influencing the election process in the region and even dictating their terms for a favorable government. Often slammed for the state of human rights in the region, Pakistan government is also accused of fitting in its own people in the election body. The main political parties in Islamabad-captured Kashmir are mere an extension of Pakistan's political parties. This has led to politicians racing to prove their loyalty towards the Pakistan government and the military. Pakistani establishment's increased interference has led to widespread frustration with political parties and right activists saying that public money has been wasted and corrupt practices turn the whole process into an eyewash.
The leader of the Syrian Islamist rebel group Nusra Front has announced to cut its ties with Al-Qaeda to deny foreign powers, including the United States and Russia, a pretext to attack Syrians. Listed as a terrorist organization by the United States, the Nusra Front was excluded from a truce negotiated in February. Analysts believe the well-armed group with highly trained fighters aims to rebrand and defend itself as it comes under increased pressure after Moscow and Washington agreed to step up joint efforts against jihadist groups. The group has renamed itself Jabhat Fateh al-Sham. Washington has said it still considers al-Nusra Front a security threat despite the announcement. Indonesia has suspended execution of at least 10 convicts pending further reviews. These include citizens of India, Pakistan and Zimbabwe. 4 drug traffickers, 3 Nigerians and 1 Indonesian were executed by firing squad during a thunderstorm on Friday shortly after midnight at the prison island of Nusa Kambangan. The executions took place despite international calls for clemency as the Indonesian government pushed ahead with what it considers a war on drugs. The death penalty is widely accepted by the Indonesian public. This week's executions come just over a year after 14 prisoners, mostly foreign drug convicts, were executed and caused diplomatic outrage. The Australian government has ordered an inquiry after graphic evidence emerged of prison guards assaulting teenage boys, with one shown hooded and shackled. National broadcaster ABC showed footage of offenders, many indigenous being stripped naked, tear-gassed and held in solitary confinement for weeks at a youth detention centre in the Northern Territory in 2014 and 2015. In one video from last year, a 17-year-old is hooded, shackled to a restrained chair and left alone for 2 hours. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull said he was shocked and appalled at the images and ordered an independent royal commission to probe the child protection and youth detention systems of the government of the Northern Territory.
At the start of this week, Australians were shocked and appalled by the images of mistreatment of children at the Dondale Youth Detention Centre in the Northern Territory. There can be no greater responsibility bestowed on an adult, a parent, a government institution than the protection of a child in their care.
And now let's catch a glimpse of some more stories that are catching attention across the world. Londoners were left spellbound as Nigerian musical Waka hit the stage in the British capital. Describing itself as a play about the trials, successes and experiences of young graduates from varied backgrounds, Waka the musical follows the fate of a group of friends after a wager is struck at graduation. Here's more.
From the idealism of a young doctor and a political mover and shaker to the get-rich-quick dreams of a sunny-natured dancer and the gilded existence of a rich businessman's daughter, Waka explores their trials and successes, all with a healthy dose of political satire thrown in. After winning rave reviews at home, the musical, Nigerian stage production, spellbound the audience at the London stage. Through its 4 characters, Kiki, Tosan, Gozi and Rex, Londoners got a feel of life as lived by young Nigerians today.
I feel honored to be a team that has come to this part of the world to educate people on this part of the planet of what Nigeria is really about. It's not just about the bombing, the kidnapping, the bad mouthing and stuff. It's just to show the world that outside the bad things they know about us, there are really good values to take away from Nigeria.
A runaway success in Lagos last year, the musical follows the fate of a group of young graduates who strike a wager before setting out on their chosen paths in life. Waka, the musical, played to 9,000 people in a 12-performance run in Lagos last December, opening at the Shaw Theatre in London on July 21st. The musical is the first time a Nigerian theatre production has transferred to London. The production was not only an entertaining and captivating experience for the spectators, but also a way to get a first-hand feel of how common Nigerians look about their lives.
And here's a story of 2 Afghan brothers who, haunted by childhood horrors of violence and war, have pledged to get the world rid of landmines.
Landmines scattered in 78 countries across the world claim between 15,000 and 20,000 lives each year, while countless others get severely injured or lose their limbs. Afghanistan too has its own share of casualties. Despite a huge progress in mine clearing, the war-ravaged country remains one of the most mined nations in the world. There were at least 1,296 Afghan casualties in 2014, resulting from mines, explosive devices and other ordnances left over from the Afghan war. 2 Afghan brothers, Masood and Mahmoud Hassani, understand the gravity of the problem. This is what inspired them to come up with a solution. Haunted by their childhood horrors, the Hassanis, who now live in the Netherlands, have devised a low-cost drone to detect and destroy mines.
We have seen a lot of people losing their limbs, and we have lost our friends basically. So that was the main inspiration to get rid of landmines in a safe way.
The mine hunting device combines drone technology, 3D printing and robotics with a metal detector to find and ultimately destroy landmines. Masood explains the working of the drone.
It maps the whole area with a 3D mapping system, so then we know where to start. And then second step, it flies over the area with a metal detector. So metal detector has a robotic arm, and then it detects landmines below the ground. And then the third step is the microphone drone puts with a robotic arm, it puts a small detonator on top of every detection, and then it blows it up from a safe distance.
The refugee brothers won worldwide acclaim in 2013 for a similar invention. Now the improvised version of the landmine destroyer has been praised by the Dutch military, which has expressed willingness to help with further testing. The brothers are using an online crowdfunding platform to raise 90,000 euros for the final tests. They intend to take it to Afghanistan for testing to find out how effective it is. Dedicated to the fight against landmines, the Hassani brothers want no one else to fall prey to the deadly traps. And if the plan to get their invention back home works with no hiccups, it will be a great gift to their home country and many of those living under constant fear.
This brings us to the end of this edition of World Connect. Do send us your feedbacks. You can write to us. Our email ID is worldconnect.ddnews@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook. But before we leave, here are some thrilling images of parachutists from around the globe competing to demonstrate aerial acrobatics and precise landing at the World Parachuting Championship held in Moscow this week. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.